Hello, ghouls and goblins. Nick here. Hope everyone's doing well today. I am back with another book review. We are starting my next long term series to review and go through the Bone Chiller books by Betsy Haynes. During the heyday of Goosebumps at their height, there were many knockoffs that had come out during this time, many of which I've reviewed here on the channel and will continue to review and collect. But the most successful one that had come out of this time were the Bone Chillers. And I think one of the big successes, they were able to commission the artwork of Tim Jacobus, who also did the vast majority of the original Goosebump books. So I think having his images there on the cover enticed a lot of kids to go and, of course, buy these as well. So that was a great move by HarperCollins, who is the publisher. And like Goosebumps, they did the embossed cover here, the Bone Chillers. I do love the spooky heading here, the creature or monster with the menacing eyes. It is also embossed, and of course these claws, these hands, so ghoulish. The Tim Jacobus cover is very nice. Some skeleton ladies here. There isn't really any, skeleton mannequins in the book, but the book does rely heavily on the concept of mannequins, which I'll get more into when we get into the book later. With the first Say Cheese and Die book of the Goosebumps series, that one is more detailed. Of course, they don't have the eyes. Of course, when the sequel came out much later in the series, the Say Cheese and Die Again book, we started to see, like the skeletons with the eyes. So this one doesn't seem as detailed. We probably didn't spend as much time on this one. Still a great cover as the Say Cheese and Die book. But yeah, pretty solid. Definitely gives that late or 80s to early 90s mall vibe. And this whole book is that for sure, at the peak of mall life. So yeah, very cool. All right, going into the book. Is a ghost story. It's very on the nose with that. Right away, it admits that. We have the main character, Robin. Her and her mother are stuck in heavy traffic because the new Wonderland Mall has opened in their town, and it was built on a swamp. Not just any swamp, but a mournful swamp where kids had unfortunately perished decades ago, back when, her mom was a teenager. There had been some kids that had went into the swamp. They had fallen into a giant ravine, and they were not able to escape. Thus, they perished, and their bodies were never recovered. So nice kind of picture gets painted there, and you can kind of pretty much figure out where this is going to go right from then. From the perspective, I guess, of a kid reading this the first time, it may have not been so on the nose that they would have realized that that was the case. But of course, being older, reading many of these books, we kind of get where it's going to go right away with that. It's going to be a haunted mall, haunted by the ghosts of the children from the swamp. Also, later in the book, it kind of mentions that when they were building this mall during the construction workers mysteriously died in the while working on it, and like stuff disappeared, and things got covered with cement mysteriously. So these ghosts definitely did, came out of the woodworks during that construction phase, and we already got little taste of what were to come. I wanted to go ahead and talk about our main character a little bit in the book, Robin. Robin has a group of friends that she meets up at the mall. There is like a sweepstakes. The first 100 people get put in a raffle to win a trip to Hawaii. So, of course, is there early, and she meets up with most of her friends. So we have Robin, of course. We have Lisa. We have Shannon. And then we have her friend Eric. And though they are a group here in the book where, we encounter a lot of these ghostly, creepy things, for the characters themselves, Robin isn't really interesting. Neither are her friends. They're just very typical. They fit the mold of just typical young teenage kids, fitting, the stereotypes of the time. Robin, of course, we're from Robin's perspective, the book, but there isn't really anything interesting about her that makes her stand out from a lot of these other characters in these pulp books, which I get it's a short book and that's not really the point, but sometimes I think a little bit more depth for a character would be nice, especially so for her friends. Lisa, Shannon, just very typical. We know Shannon wears glasses, and I think Lisa is blonde. I think at some point it said she likes food. But of course, they love to tease Robin, and they find out Robin has a crush on their other friend, Eric, who has like a dimpled chin she really likes. Yeah, they just, and of course, a lot of the chapter cliffhangers, like in Goosebumps, is them, playing a practical joke, like hiding from her in the mall and things like that. Now, of course, talking about the mall and the setting, the term liminal will come to mind. These eerie feelings, particularly in the corridor parts of the mall. Liminal and that concept wasn't really defined until decades later. Now that it's more of an aesthetic now, but in the back parts of the mall, the hidden parts of the mall, and these closed rooms with these mannequins in there, try to create a creepy setting. But I think post 90s and to now, I think it works very well with that aesthetic. But this book relies heavily on mannequins and their human-like quality. Really interesting about these mannequins that run into these creepy mannequins. They favor their classmates, or they favor Robin, Lisa, Shannon, Eric's classmates, or other kids like them that live in the town. Which is also sort of a hint at the story and the spookiness of it. We see the teenage store clerks come out. Them is another blonde girl. She wears a skirt, has blue eyes. She's very pretty, according to the characters. And she just seemingly pops up at a few different stores. They're like, wait, we just saw you downstairs. And all of a sudden she's upstairs. And she's like, no, that wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. I only work here, in this, video store. I don't work down there in that store downstairs. There's also another girl store clerk that pops up. She has a French braid. See often, and then of course there is a teenage guy that pops up in the arcade and stuff. And these teens, they're pretty creepy, but we pretty much find out that they are the ghosts of the children who perished in the swamp. What's really interesting, they have this ability to hypnotize, and the boy in particular has these red eyes, which is very interesting. They're able to hypnotize the kids, and essentially what they've done is that they've turned them into the mannequins, the kids, and one by one each of Robin's friends and people that she knows from town and school become these mannequins, which is sort of the whole spook factor of the book. And then at the very end, They all chase after her in their mannequin form, controlled by the ghost children. And the ghost children pretty much want revenge because they could never live out their life. They had perished in the swamp. One of the moments is they trap Robin at the end. Her friend Lisa, who is now a mannequin, sheds a tear because it's pretty much all over. But these teenage ghosts, they're gullible. There's a car outside, and yes, from the time period that these teens were from, it was like when cars were like a big deal. And these ghosts, they just want to cruise and drive. And she's like, oh, well, there's a car out here I can show you. And they're like, what? Where? We want to cruise. We want to live again. Even though they're so close to changing her and capturing her soul, so I guess they can live again, or whatever. But yeah, she escapes the mall. She's running. They're running after her. And of course, the end of the book, where it gets really, I think more interesting at the end, they turn into these, ghoulish forms as they chase her. As they get further from the mall, they start to deteriorate. And so we do get a bit of body horror where, we start to see them, of course, like age and become skeletal. And I think it was the girl with the French braid, her eye pops out. So, of course, very, very ghoulish looking. And, of course, they deteriorate before they can get back to the mall. The day is saved pretty much, and all of Robin's friends and other kids from town, they, revert back to their normal selves, but they don't remember anything, but Robin does. Of course, the story ends with her looking over at Eric and seeing his dimple, and not really like a twist ending in this one, but more of a happy ending. It's a decent little book. I did like that there were some tense moments where they're hiding from the ghoul kids of the mall, where the girl with the French braid almost catches them, and they're playing as mannequins. And just the whole scene of creepy mannequins and kind of putting yourself there in that perspective, and seeing them, these unsettling kind of mannequins with the painting on faces. So I think it's a pretty good horror trope. I think it's one that in particular makes my skin crawl. So relies heavily on the mannequins as the creep factor, and then kind of near the end we don't really see like the main kind of haunting spooky ghouls until the end. But I thought at least it paced okay enough. Can't just always be monsters out the gate. Sometimes that works, but I thought Betsy Haynes did pretty good. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. If you've read this one, let me know what you think. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But yeah, thanks, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.